It's 1995, and the World Rally Championship is getting fast. So fast, in fact, that the FIA decided the cars had to be nerfed to make sure the sport didn't become as dangerous as Group B had been. That's why they enacted a rule requiring all turbocharged cars to run with restrictor plates. These restrictors reduced the amount of air the engine could intake. Less air means less power means less speed, and ultimately safer races. But Toyota had some different ideas about this rule in 1995, when the restrictors became even more stringent. See, Toyota Team Europe was struggling to remain competitive with their 6th generation Celica, a car that had barely beaten Subaru by 11 points in the 1994 season. Toyota engineers began looking for devious ways to improve their car, and quickly settled on the restrictor as a likely victim. The problem was, these restrictors were inspected at every race to ensure that they were installed and functional. To sneak an illegal mod past the judges would be nearly impossible, right? Well, what Toyota came up with is perhaps the most genius cheating scandal ever uncovered. Their restrictor appeared completely normal during inspection, but during the race it would be shifted 5 millimeters forward, thanks to a clever set of curved washers. This allowed air to bypass the restrictor completely, giving the Celica a 25% increase in airflow and an estimated 50 extra horsepower. The mischievous mechanism was so perfect, the judges didn't even notice it until the second to last race of the season. How they eventually discovered it is still a mystery. It's possible a snitch on the Toyota team clued them in. The president of the FIA, upon seeing this tomfoolery, declared it the most sophisticated and ingenious device he had ever seen. Well, regardless of how smart it was, this illegal restrictor still got Toyota disqualified from the 95 season, and they were issued a ban for 1996 as an additional punishment. 8 years later, Ford would come up with a completely different way to dodge the restrictor rules. And they actually got away with it. They installed a 45-liter pressurized titanium air tank hidden in the rear bumper of the Focus Rally Sport. This tank would collect excess boost created during off-throttle driving and store it behind a butterfly valve. The compressed air would then be unleashed during full throttle, saturating the engine with a rush of compact air that was much greater than the restrictor would normally allow. But because this air had already passed through the restrictor to reach the tank in the first place, well, it was technically allowed. But it didn't take long for this loophole to get closed, and the Ford Surge tank was eventually banned. I guess this is one of those odd instances where they violated the spirit of the law, but not the actual letter. Who doesn't love a good skirt? Long before the restrictor exploits became popular, Peugeot was up to some monkey business of their own. Ground effects like these were banned from WRC during the 1986 season, due to the same tragic accidents that resulted in the cancellation of Group B. So why are these skirts and fins featured on a Peugeot 205 racing at the Acropolis Rally in 1986? Well, you see, it's because Peugeot is French, and the governing body who made the rules of rally racing was also French, and the president of the governing body, Jean-Marie Balestre, was also French. And the French like to win. It wasn't until Rally San Remo months later that the Italians disqualified these illegal Peugeots so that the home team Lancia cars could win, which they did. Peugeot immediately argued that their skirts should have been legal because they didn't extend past the rest of the bodywork, and of course the governing body sided with their French brethren and annulled the race results entirely, ultimately granting Peugeot the victory for the entire season. Sorry Lancia, I guess the French take this one. Audi is one of those brands that just dominated Group B racing for many years, mostly due to the Quattro four-wheel drive system that allowed their cars to grip and handle well in all types of conditions. One competitor who didn't have this advantage? Lancia, who was still running this rear-wheel drive 037. So when the 1983 Monte Carlo rally took place during a particularly snowy week in January, the Lancia team simply ordered 300 tons of salt from Italy, then convinced the French authorities to spread it on the track and melt the snow. In the name of safety, of course. Audi was unaware of this tactic and raced their cars on a slower set of snow tires. Lancia took a planned pit stop just minutes into the race, swapping the winter tires for a set of more appropriate grippy ones. Without the snow to hamper their fresh rear wheels, Lancia took the win easily, despite having an apparent disadvantage to the Quattro system. But Audi isn't completely innocent either. Just 2 years later, in 1985, they may have pulled off the most mind-numbingly obvious trick of all time. During a grueling race through the African Ivory Coast, driver Michèle Mouton began experiencing catastrophic failures in her Audi Sport. The car was spouting white smoke and mixing oil and coolant, a typical German luxury car.
Sammy, you will wreck the car. We will not finish.
She pulled off the route, followed by a nearly identical support car. The two vehicles remained out of the race and out of sight for over an hour. And then, Mouton miraculously reappeared, with a now functioning Audi. The support car was never seen again. And although Audi claims they only traded oil pumps, some speculated that Mouton had instead swapped cars. This would certainly explain why the roof number was now missing, along with some of the mismatched windscreen stickers and headlamps. The Audi team eventually withdrew from this race, so these suspicions were never properly investigated.
Here, Michèle Mouton is still in the race, but very soon after this, she will have to resign.
I know Rallycross isn't quite the same as Rally Championship, but hey, they still get cheaters. Oliver Solberg took home his first ever victory in July 2022, only to be disqualified immediately afterwards. Why was he stripped of the win? His Hyundai i20 was discovered to be 3 kilograms overweight. That's right, he was ejected for having a disadvantage, or as the refs called it, a technical infringement. What a silly application of the rules. But that wasn't the end of Hyundai's issues. Just days later, another i20 competing in Rally Finland was found to have a front bumper that was 579 grams underweight. The small margin of error means this was probably a mistake rather than an intentional hack, but it was still enough to get the car disqualified. Well, I guess Hyundai just has a harder time meeting weight requirements than your mom does. Did you enjoy this video? Subscribe. Did you hate this video? Subscribe anyway. I'm trying to hit 100,000 subscribers so I can get one of those shiny metal squares to hang on my wall. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.